Hi everyone, so this is the Idaho 4 Moscow Murders Blahgergirl motion in limine part, I believe 6, or just the next part in the hearing, and this is regarding the self-authentication of records. And so this is motion number 12 that they're speaking about. There's been multiple motions before this, so if you have not seen that, please go down and watch those first. So this one was really short-lived because the judge said that they haven't provided what they plan to rely upon, so it was a little bit premature, and wants both of them to meet to see if anything needs to be objected to, and he's skipping it for now. So then we're moving on to motion number 13, which was the alibis. This is the most we've seen of Thompson in a while, so he is the prosecution, or one of the attorneys for the prosecution, and so he got up and said that he had accidentally got the dates wrong in his motion and clarified that with the judge. Thompson was talking about the discovery request for alibi, the demand to identify who they intend to rely on, meaning the defense, to prove Brian Kohberger's alibi. He said that the defense hasn't responded and that all they've said he was doing was driving around that evening. Now it sounds like they're not going to have anyone to corroborate that except experts that can look at his cell phone records and prove that he was somewhere else. Thompson said that Syre, which is the expert that would help him do that, couldn't account for the timeline during the murders. We don't know that yet. We have not heard from Syre, so we will find out. But they also wanted an order prohibiting any other witnesses. And then the judge clarified, saying, well, won't Syre just be testifying to where Brian was, to corroborate his story through the cell phone records? And he said, oh, but he can't account for the timeline of the murders. Again, we have not heard from Syre on the stand, so that has yet to be seen. The defense responded saying that this is a trial issue, and then the judge said there's obligation to produce someone to corroborate this and not contesting Syre, and said yes, they are, no problem, hasn't arisen, asking judge to have them disclose if there's something in the 68 terabytes. So then the defense got up and asked that the judge force the prosecution to turn over anything that they may potentially know about in the 68 terabytes of evidence through discovery that the defense has to go through that may be exculpatory to Brian. She said that there was no evidence now for the corroboration of his alibi, but that there could be depending on the evidence that they have yet to go through. And the judge agreed that they need to hand over anything, meaning the prosecution, to the defense if there's anything that they know about and that the defense needs to know about. So I'm going to do one more and then move on to my next video. So this is motion number 14, and it's regarding the AT&T records. As we know, that there was an initial request for Brian's cell phone records for the first 48 hours, and then there was a second request pretty quickly on, probably within 24 hours, they asked for another request of phone records for a longer period of time. So Ashley Jennings was getting up saying that AT&T only keeps timing advance records, which is the cell phone records, for 7 days. And so by the time they figured out Brian's tip, for him by December 19th, it had been past that 7 days after November 13th. And so therefore they couldn't get the timing advance records because it was past that time frame, and also it wasn't included in the original search warrant. Now the defense wants to cross-examine Nick Balance. Nick Balance is the FBI special agent that did the analysis of Brian's cell phone and supposedly where he's placing Brian in his car prior to the murders multiple times, etc. So he's the basically specialist in this, and they want to cross-examine him on his analysis. Now, what was really bizarre is the judge kept asking questions that typically Syre would be answering. Syre is the cell phone expert for the defense, but he barred him from being a part of this hearing, and he said, oh, he doesn't need to testify, his testimony is good enough, what he wrote. And then he proceeded to ask a bunch of technical questions that only Syre would be able to answer to the defense counsels, and kind of stumped them because they're not experts in that field. So my thing is, why don't you just let him be a part of the hearing, and therefore you can ask him whatever you want. I mean, he was on Zoom in a waiting room in case he needed to be called, and it's the judge would not call him. So the judge went on this huge tirade about Syre, saying that he had a glaring omission by Cyray, serious accusations against the state, very accusatory. And Cyray, he called him a conspiracy theorist. I mean, this is an expert in his field. This is someone who's testified at very high-level courts, that works with the FBI, CIA, our top agencies, and he's calling him a conspiracy theorist without even meeting the man and asking him questions himself. Not just to give you guys a little background if you don't know who Cyray is. Cyray has worked with some of the top agencies, like I just said, but also he has always testified for the prosecution. This is the first time he's ever testified for the defense. He typically does not testify for the defense. Why would he put his reputation on the line for conspiracies? It doesn't make any sense. So Anne went on to say, like, the 7 days is new information to her, that period is missing, and she hasn't had time to compel. So they basically came to an agreement that she can ask Nick Balance if he got these records, but she will have to do so outside of the jury. So that's motions, 12, 13, 14. I will be back with the next ones shortly.